All right, let's see if this starts. Welcome to Ike's Vintage Tech. Uh, if it's a little bumpy in the beginning here, I'm working on it. So let me get everything set up real quick. Just bear with me here. Alrighty. All right, give me a second here. So today we're going to be recapping a few analog boards. I've got SE FDHD analog board, an SE30 analog board, and because I have very little space on this bench, another SE board. So we're going to go ahead and remove the caps from them, do any repairs that need done, and then recap them. At the end of that, assuming I do this in a timely manner, I have my SE30 board I also want to recap. If you notice on one of my last videos, I was using this on, the sound went away, and I've been putting it off for a long time. It's time to recap them. So let's get that started here. So I'm going to turn on the soldering iron. I got some paperwork here. It's a list of all the caps I have to replace and where they go. I got a picture of the caps I am going to replace on the logic board. That way, just keeps everything, in order. And I got my Mauser receipt so I can cross stuff off as well. So that should be sufficient in keeping everything organized. Got my pile of caps right over here. Some basic tools that I'm going to be using. I've got this little pick to get the hot glue off of the capacitors that I need to remove. I do have some rubbing alcohol, 99%, the good stuff. That'll help clean up any damage, hopefully no damage, any residue that's left behind from the caps that may have leaked. It also helps soften that hot glue if I need any help getting it off. Out of the camera range here, I do have a little hot air station that I can use if I have any holes in the logic board or on the analog board that are filled afterwards that I couldn't get out with some solder wick. And yeah, let's get started on this. So the first thing I'm going to do real quick here is mark the ones that I need to recap. So let's go through here real quick. I have C14, which is this big guy right there. C2, that guy right there. C7. Now some of these I might not be able to see right away. I know this is definitely one of them. I don't know if that's C7 or not. Probably not. C22 is on there. C19. C11 is an axial. Let me get this on camera. C7 right here. That was the one I was looking for before. C9, another big guy. Let's see, C15, that one. C18 is possibly this guy right here. It's got some glue around it. I already marked it though. Oh, that's C7. C13, is that in here? Yep, C13, C24. C13 is right next to the flyback transformer. Right in there. And who am I missing here? Yep, C25 is that one there. C18, that's another axial. And yeah, I think I got them all. Yeah. So those are the ones I want to be replacing on here. Uh, let's see. Is C... There we go. I believe that's it. I'll definitely go through this a little more thoroughly as I start taking things off. Now, all the caps I have that are at least for the analog boards here are labeled. Anything that's for the logic board is not labeled. I didn't go through the extra steps of getting that done. But right here on the list from Mouser, customer part number I have labeled as C18, and that's thanks to JDW on YouTube. I used his list to order these caps, and he has a whole Mouser cart that's all set up that is very convenient. Let me get back to me. So I used his list. He's got a great YouTube video on this. That's why I didn't bother making this a polished video. There's plenty of good recap videos out there. This is more just a Friday night, got some stuff to do, and I'm going to do it with you guys. I got a few people watching. Thank you. Last night I did my first live stream as a test, and it was a learning experience, definitely, and I'm still learning. This is not something you just pick up on the fly. So let's go ahead and start getting the hot glue off of these guys. Now, I'm not going to hot glue these back on tonight. It does definitely need done, but not on tonight's video. I'm not going that deep. Now, you do want to be careful, especially on this coil here. You don't want to damage this right here because it's very delicate and not that hard to damage, so you don't want to really overdo anything. And as you take these out, you do want to check them off so that you're not missing anything, and then you also want to check off that you've put a new one in. Now, since I'm doing several boards here, I'm going to do one complete, and that way I'll always have another one to reference in case for some reason I get mixed up, get something backwards. You want to make sure that all your polarity is correct on these caps, or you can have a real bad time when you apply power for the first time. It's pretty simple. The axials have a little arrow that's pointing to negative. There's usually a little indentation on where the positive is on the axials as well. And on the standard caps, there is a line on the negative side, and that's just how you want to line it up. So here's some of that glue that just doesn't want to come off. It is pretty old. It should kind of come right off without too much fight. Whoop. Camera angles. So I am trying to get this little bit off right in here. Now, it's not too big a deal if I don't get every single bit of it off, because just removing the cap itself, it might just come off. There we go. It's still attached to the cap, but I got it off of the component next to it. So that should just rise right up once I remove the leads. There we go. So that's taken care of. Now this one right here, C14, they put a bead of glue right down the crease there, and that's okay. This one's not even hard. This one already came off, so I don't have to worry about that. And a little bit between C2 and C25. Get those off. Now you got to be careful that you're not damaging any other components on the board while you're doing this. And, you know, you're using a scribe. Don't stab yourself. I don't feel like doing that on live camera. I went as far as to make sure I did all my bathroom breaks and everything before starting the video here, so that I don't have to step away from the camera. And I don't want to step away for a hospital visit. All right, where am I looking at here? All right. I got to remember, I got to do proper camera angles when I'm doing this stuff. All right, little pair of pliers here. And just rip that right off. Real easy like that. I want to thank you guys that are tuning in. If this is how you enjoy spending your Friday nights, consider subscribing. So there we go. Got most of it off. And like I said, I can clean it up with the alcohol afterwards. So the soldering iron should be nice and hot by now. And I'm going to head... Whoops, almost forgot. This is an easy one here. You got to take this protective cover off. Another use of the scribe. Just pop those little things out like that. And they come out. Pretty simple. There's only a couple of them here. 4 of them total. So they come out pretty easy. So you push the little centerpiece in. And then it comes out just like that. Make sure you keep both little halves so that when you put it back together, it's not too difficult. It's easy to lose these little things. And you can buy new ones still. It's a pretty common electrical part. Even in modern servers, they have them on just heat shrouds, stuff like that. And then this comes right off. A little dirty on the back of the board here. I'll probably wipe that down with some IPA. Let's set that up there. All right. So back to what I was doing. Let's get back to removing caps. So the leads I'm going to be working on here are these two right here. So sometimes it helps to add a little bit of solder to the existing solder if you have trouble heating it up. I don't think I'll have that problem. This is a really good soldering iron. And you just pull a little bit each way. Now in this case I can also use my solder wick to help remove some of that excess solder. And there is a lot of it here. Uh-oh. I just saw the pad peel up a little bit there. So I definitely want to be careful with that. Maybe turn the iron down just a tad. There we go. Now, that came out a little rough. Usually it's not that difficult. Now, if you do have a pad peel up, it sucks. It's not the end of the world. As long as it doesn't rip, and if it did rip, you could demask some of this solder mask here, and you could use that. It's not preferred, believe me, but that is a way. The next one here I'm going to take out is C15. Let's see if that goes a little easier. Yeah, Rich, I can't change the camera color because I'm not paying for the thing yet. They really get you on the Canon webcam utility. You have to pay for anything other than the basic color scheme, which is annoying. Okay. A lot of these are fairly bent. So that's part of the reason they're not just popping out like the other one I did before. Oh, that's one of the ones I missed some hot glue on. So that is why it's not just coming out as easy as it should. So let's get under there and actually remove that hot glue. There we go. That should do it now. Back to the back side. There we go. Got that one out. What I'm doing here is I'm just cleaning up the excess solder so when I go back through here, it'll be pretty easy to put new ones in. Let's get rid of that hot glue while I got the room. There we go. All right, let's do C7 next. You always want to make sure that you're getting the right side underneath here. You don't want to mix that up and remove a component you don't need to remove. Okay, now I think I need to turn my iron up a little bit more. Back to where it was almost. Oh, this one's like practically coming out from that. That's how easy they should remove. So I think the hot glue is setting me back before. And then as this builds up, just snip off the old. You can chew on it. It has a nice sweet taste. I would not recommend that. That was a joke. All right, that is clean. C2, C25 are these two little ones right here. Now because I don't have a fan on in here, I'm just blowing the smoke away from my face. There we go. Okay, that came out pretty easy. And there we go. Yeah, this should all really go pretty quick. The only ones you might have trouble with are ones that have a connection to one of the huge pieces of ground. Then you got a lot of copper you got to deal with under here. All right, let's go down to this one here. Right there, those little two pads. There we go. And you don't want to pull too hard from the underside or the top side as I'm doing this. You just want to give it a little tug and it'll come right out without too much issue. All right. C22 and C19 are those 4 pads right there. Now the proper way to use this stuff is you're supposed to cut little, like 1/4-inch sections of the solder wick and put it on what you're using. That mostly applies for like surface mount type stuff. Yes, I am wicking some of the heat away from the tip when I'm doing this, but it is just a pretty quick desolder, so I'm not really on it too long. Okay, there might be some glue in that one. Nope, just being difficult. There we go. It's pretty easy to clean up as you go. And we got a couple big ones on this side, so these might be fun with all the copper they're attached to. All right, if you do have one that's a little tough, add some solder. And that definitely helps right there. All right. Got to mute the mic real quick so I could cough. There we go. That came out pretty easy after adding a little bit of solder. And as far as adding flux before using the wick, not really. That's just more gooey stuff to clean up afterwards. All right, C13. And the wick does have a little bit of its own flux in it. At least the good stuff does. Let's see here. I'm using, let's get this on the camera, Chemtronics brand solder wick, and it does have rosin in it, if you can read that. Yeah, it's hard to find focus. But yeah, there is resin in the wick, so that really does help. All right, that little one fell out. I am drinking water as I do this because I'm talking a lot, where normally this would be done in my own solitude. And I am being careful. I'm not drinking, I'm keeping the water away from the lead, and I'm drinking out of a hydro flask, so it's all self-contained. Nothing's going to get in it. Okay, I got a couple axials I got to do. C18 here. Let me mute that so you don't hear that anymore. Okay, apparently that doesn't mute it. All right. All right, this is a little harder because it's an axial. It's not as easy to pull on the back side of it here. There we go. And there we go. That one came out with a little bit of extra work. All right, next one is C11. That's a little hard to reach on the back side there. it's this pad and this pad. Okay, this is a little hard to film and get in there, so excuse the bad camera angles. Okay. So this one, there we go, that went across the room. Okay, give it a quick once over here. All right, I'm gonna go over my list here real quick, make sure none of the other caps I need to do are on here. And I believe that is it. So there should be 1, 2, 4, okay. 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 caps is what I'm gonna be putting back on here. Okay, not that one. C13, C24. I've got C18. I don't believe that's one of them. C2, C7, 22, and 25. C11, C15, C19, C14. All right. Okay, C9, missed that one. All right, so now that I got my caps set aside, I'm gonna go ahead and start putting them back on. I am gonna go over it real quick with a Q-tip and some isopropyl alcohol. And I'm just gonna use the cap. I'm not gonna double dip, so that way the alcohol stays sterile. Just hit up the underside here real quick. Let me get the camera back on here. This gets off any excess flux and all the stuff you don't need under your work once you put it back together. Now, when this is all said and done, if these boards were in really rough shape, I could wash them. I don't really believe it's necessary. Now, just inspecting the board here, I did find a cold solder joint right there. So that's pretty common on these hard drive plugs, or that's not a hard drive. Yeah, it's pretty common on these particular plugs here that breaks. And not this board, but another board I have is pretty burnt. So that will happen on these boards. If you get a cold solder joint, it creates heat. That's something I'm going to fix before I put this all back together. So that is a good thing to check when you're also going through everything else, just making sure all your connections are good. And yeah, there's a few contacts in here that definitely could use a touch-up. So like, I didn't touch these at all, and it looks like there's barely any solder on these three little pins right there. So this is going to be something I'm going to be touching up, fixing mistakes from 30 plus years ago. And not necessarily mistakes. Some of this was just age, the heating and cooling over decades of use. And yeah, that's pretty much it there. So let me go ahead. I'm going to add some flux here to the area I'm going to work. These little pins here, it's crazy. Why wouldn't those have solder? Maybe there's no current going through them. Maybe they're just not used in the actual pin out, but nonetheless, it should really have been done. Actually, looking at it, there are no contacts to solder to, so that's probably why. That's odd. All right, well, ignore that, but I am going to fix the one that is like, it's definitely a cold solder joint right here. Let's see if I can zoom in a little here. On the offending pin. And you can even see it's a little darker than the rest. So it definitely has taken some heat. There we go. I'm going to give it a closer inspection, make sure, yep, there's a little bit I missed. Probably should add some flux to that while I'm at it. Wouldn't hurt. There we go. All right, so let's start putting the new caps in. Let's start with C9. It's one of the bigger ones. And you want to maintain a little bit of order here. You don't want to just start taking all the caps out, because they are at least organized pretty neat. And as you take them out, just set them aside. That way you know where they came from. All right. So on the caps here, this little stripe here is the negative terminal. So that's your negative polarity. Other side is positive, obviously. So I'm going to go ahead and slide that into C9. All right, let me do that on camera. All right. So you want to get it nice and flush on the board here. So if the holes don't line up perfect, now there is some glue there. I'm going to remove that quick before I get it all the way in there, because the glue is getting in the way. on camera. And I just want to be careful that I don't rip that coil out. I don't have any spare parts for anything else, unless you count having multiple boards spare parts. All right, that got that out enough. So now I'm able to slip this back in, and it should sit flush. There we go. All right, so flip it over, bend the lead so it stays in place. Oh, if you notice, that's the one pad I lifted. So I'm gonna have to carefully put that through. And make sure it goes through the pad and doesn't push it aside. Oh, real blurry. Come on, Canon. All right, there we go. So this little pad here is starting to lift. All right. I can zoom back out. All right, there we go. Bend them over to the side a little bit. Touch it up with some flux. And real quick, just like that. That easy. You always want to inspect your work. Take a real close look. Make sure you don't have any cold solder joints. And then snip off the legs. There we go. All right, sorry about that. I muted it and I forgot to unmute it. All right, so we're gonna do C15 next. And these particular ones are film capacitors. This is what was recommended by JDW. And the legs are a little wider than they should be, so you just have to bend them in place. They fit pretty good. So this was, what did I say? C15. C15 is this little guy right here. So it's a little bit in the excuse me there. All right. So a little bit of bending of the legs you got to do to get it in the right place. And now this is something you kind of do have to put in at an angle. And because you're bending it, you want to make sure that this connector here, let me bring that other camera back up. It's going to go at a little cockeyed angle here. You want to make sure that you're leaving room for this connector to connect. So just off to the side a little bit. You want to make sure that under the legs here that there's nothing touching. You don't want to have anything arc. Flip back over, bend them out to the side. Hit with a little flux from the pen and back to the solder. Just like that. You want it to flow until you see it completely encapsulate the post. Now normally you'd want to use a pair of diagonal cutters for this. I couldn't find mine last minute, so not a big deal. Snips work just fine. Alright, so after that, let's just see what we grab here. C14 is next. That's one of the larger ones here. This is a, it's a something or other. It's a big one. .25 volt, 4700 microfarad. All right, so that was C14. That's on the other side of your flyback. Once again, make sure you get proper polarity. It should just slide right on there pretty good. Flip it back over, make sure that it's staying flush. Bend your post out just a smidge, and then you can let go of it. It's pretty simple from there. Let me get the camera back on. This gets pretty monotonous. Just flux, solder, repeat. There you go. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but you want to have it, it's called wet. You want it to wet around the post, and it should make a nice clean connection to your board. All right, let's do C19. Grab one of those. Actually, no, I'm not going to do C19 until I get 18 and 11 done. Only because it's in a very tight spot of the board, and I don't want to have to try to squeeze in there after the fact. So let's find C18 or C11. Here's C11 right here. Now, typically on axial capacitors, you have a line that's going diagonal that'll tell you where the negative is. This has a line around the one end and a tapered side where the positive is. So commonly you have a line going across, and that's like what we saw here on this one here. You're not going to see it on that angle. Let me get the camera back up. you're going to see this line with an arrow across the capacitor. And that's going to tell you where negative is. And then you're also going to see this little indent on the end, and that's your positive. So that's an easy way to tell which is which there. So let's get this 11 in. And I'm just going to eyeball the measurement. I'm pretty good track record of getting that done right. They do make little template tools that you can pre-measure ahead of time, and it does it dead on. Nice little things to have. You don't need them if you're comfortable trying to eyeball it. So let's get the camera back and we'll go from here. So right here are my leads. You can kind of see them bent to the side there. Alrighty. Alright, the next one we want is C18. Okay, we got C18 right here. All right, once again, quick eyeball. Ooh. Almost snapped the lead. There we go. Let's slide that right in place. Flip it over, bend your leads out again, and repeat. Like I said, very monotonous. Just live streaming here because I figured it's better than doing this off camera, and it would be overkill of the same topic that you see over and over again on YouTube. So there's plenty of good videos out there for recapping. Just want to try playing around with the live stream on YouTube. So wife and daughter were sick a week ago, and now it's my turn. So I should be over it in another day or two. All right, so now we can do C19 or C22. I believe this was C19 that I pulled this from. Yep, C19. got C22 next. It's one of these here. There's plenty of them for this one. Another touch-up right there. All right. So that is C2, 7, 22, and 25. So that was 22 I just did. $25, $22, and 7. $2, $7, $25. So just gonna throw them all on at once real quick here. Save me some time. All right, it looks like my camera, low battery. It is a 5-year-old camera, so might be time to buy new batteries. All right, quick swap. I got the charger right behind me here on the wall. Let's see if I got it back. Yep. All right, back to work. A little bit of flux. All right, I think that buffering issue might have been my camera dying. So hopefully that's fixed. I could hear it raining outside not too long ago, but I have Verizon Fios. They're pretty reliable. Even when the power goes out, I still have internet. Unless it's out for, over an hour. All right, we got C24 left. I believe that's it. C13, C24. So here's C24, and C13 is the one that's inside the little shield for the flyback. So that's a fun one to get to. But after that, that's it for this particular board, and then I can either go to the next one, or looking at the time here, I've been doing this over an hour. I think I'll just do the SE30 motherboard, or the logic board. It gets pretty repetitive doing this, so. There's that one. And then in here. So I'm putting it in at a very bad camera angle, but it's also just a bad angle to do it without a camera. There you go. Got it nice and flush, and then bend them over. All right, there we go. That is all the capacitors for this particular logic or analog board. Hold on. There we go. So all the capacitors that needed to be replaced are now replaced on this analog board. Another thing you can do is you can replace the fan with like an Noctua fan. You just have to direct wire it over this end of the board here. Didn't bother doing it on this one. The other thing we did is we found some cold solder joints, fixed them, and this board is good to go. So I'm going to set it up here for now out of the way. And I want to take a look at my SE30 board. This is the one that really needs some work. So let me get the camera on here again. So it's very hard to see without actually like getting real tight zoom. There is a little bit of green on some of these legs, and with this sepia tone here that my camera is doing, you probably couldn't see it anyways. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and replace the caps on this with new tantalum caps, and then afterwards I'm gonna give this thing a really thorough bath. Go ahead and clean it really good. Make sure there's no residue from the leaky caps. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let me turn off my iron, and I'm going to turn on my hot air station. Let's carefully remove the ROM. And I think I'm going to leave the RAM in place because it's not too close to any caps except this one right here. And I think I can get in there and tap that pretty quick. In fact, let me see what I can do here. Just see if it's any easier taking this off with the iron versus oh yeah, that stinks. I'm definitely burning cap juice here. Now there's another thing I do want to try. I never tried. I've seen Adrian's Digital Basement do it many times. And that's where, zoom in here. He just goes ahead and applies a little pressure and a twist. And let's see if that works. Yeah, pretty clean. Left the pads alone. That works. Never did that before. Always been a little scared to. So let's go ahead and get that done. Yeah, that is really easy. Scary, but easy. Nope. That didn't come off the way it should. All right, fingernail. There we go. Yeah, all the pads are intact. All right, I'm going to reference my sheet here, make sure I got all the caps I'm going to be doing. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The guy over here. And the one I didn't do yet is next to the ram here. Yeah, you can smell the stink just coming off this thing. It smells like, it's like a fishy odor. It's pretty disgusting. But yeah, those caps were definitely leaking for quite a while, I can imagine. Just blow through all these real quick, clean them up. little flux to that to clean that up. All right, these are cleaning up pretty good. Just gonna hit them with some alcohol after the fact. I just want to get in there real good. Oh, camera. Now this little area right here. Make sure that's cleaned up. That little area there needs a little bit more touch up. All right, got those caps off. Just have the two axials here to get, and that's it for that. So that should come off pretty easy here. Make sure I'm getting the right ones. This board is a lot more complex than your standard like SE board. All right, I'm going to carefully tug on that as I desolder this side. All right, that side is done. And there we go, that is also done. Now it looks like the hole's filled in. So not a huge deal. If the solder wick doesn't get it out, and it might not, you can use hot air, or if you can get the right timing, you can heat it with the tip of your soldering iron and slide the new cap in. Looking for my flux that was under the board hiding. So let's hit that with a little bit of flux. And see if I can suck the solder out of there. If not, don't fight it. Don't force it through. Like I said, use a hot air station. That'll definitely get it in there pretty easy for you. Just got to go ahead and remove that other one here. C2. So what I'm going to do this time is snip the cap right at the edge. What this does is it gives me these two long leads. I can heat them up and I can kind of fish them through the other direction, so going out in reverse. And that might do me a little bit more of a service of clearing out the hole once I do that. So these two little leads here, like I said, heat them up, push them through the back side of the board here, and that might clear the hole. So that way, that's one less thing I got to worry about after the fact. So let's try that. Just want to get the pliers on there good. And instead of pulling, I'm going to be pushing a little bit here. Hard part about this is doing this on camera. That is a tight fit. Okay, I wasn't able to push that through just because I wasn't too comfortable in that little spot there. Like I said, that is a tight fit where that was coming through. And then the next one has a lot more space, so let's see if this one works at least. Not really. The size here of the hole is just pretty tiny. All right, make sure I got the right pin laid out here. Get that bit here with the pliers. Yeah, I just had to pull it because pushing that through wouldn't have worked out for me. So like I said, I'm just going to use a little bit of hot air, soften those holes up, and put the new capacitors right in. So I'm going to go ahead and take another Q-tip and clean this area up where these came out of. Nothing leaked on that side, it's just a little dirty. Oh, the two pads I missed there, I got to get out too. All right, touch this up. All right, so now I got that done. I'm going to go ahead and prep my capacitors real quick. All right. So let's tidy up my workstation here. It is getting a little cluttered for me. Okay, so that's 11. There we go. So this one here is the 220 microfarad at 16 volts, C11. I'm going to write that on here real quick. C11. We have one tantalum here at 50 volt, 1 microfarad. You are C6. And then this one here, I've got, how many of them? 10. And this is probably the 47, yeah. So this is 4, 3, 5, 8, 9, 10. 13, and the two bottom ones here, 1 and 12. So there's 10 of those, and I should have another axial here. This is probably it. 470 at 16. Yep, this guy right here is C2. So the axials are going to be the hardest to get back in, only because the holes are filled. I don't have a solder sucker. I don't have a Hakko, which would be awesome for this. But what I will do is I'll just use the hot air to get in there. Let me get that little lead off. There we go. So now I'm going to go ahead, drink some water. I'm going to go ahead and prep these axials. All right. Let's see. Blowing on it does sometimes loosen the hole up. Yeah? Try not to laugh. Alright, so another thing I did notice is the little feet are kind of everywhere. So I thought I got most of them up in the solder wick, but some of them are flaking around the board, and I don't want those shorting anything out. So just get everything off of here, make sure that nothing is lingering behind. Just have to reference something quick. double checking polarity of these tantalum capacitors. I'm pretty sure the line is on the positive side on tantalums. Just want to double check that. Yes. So the line on the tantalums is a little reverse from other capacitors, so that's an easy mistake some people make. I wasn't going to make it. I don't care if I have to show you I Google something. I don't know everything. Definitely double check your work when you're doing this stuff. So the positive side of the board, let me triple check my work here. Yes, that is in the right orientation. So I went to a website called recapamac.com.au, an Australian website. Pretty good resource. They tell you what caps you need. They have high-res photo images, so you know what you're doing. And yeah, don't be afraid to Google something. Don't think you know everything, because I certainly don't. So yeah, the little red line on the tantalum caps is the positive side. So reverse of what regular, electrolytic caps are. All right. So let me get one of these out here. Now here's something I haven't done in a while, and that is this particular type of surface mount. And I don't know if it's going to be easier to use hot air. It might be. I think hot air might be the easier route here. So let me go ahead and give that a shot real quick here. Get my station. The station is on. I'm going to turn the iron off. Well, actually, let me prep the spot real quick here. I'm going to go ahead and do C4. Let me get the camera on. So I'm just going to add a little bit of solder to the pads. Turn my iron off because I don't know if this circuit can handle a soldering iron and a hot air station at the same time. And I don't want to find out and have my computer die in the middle of a stream. So there's that. Now, one thing I wish I grabbed was tweezers. I did not grab tweezers before doing this. I might have some in the room here real quick. Let me double check. So I have used them up here before, and I don't believe I took them back downstairs. So if I have tweezers up here, that is a testament to me not cleaning up after myself. Let's see. Yes, I do. So that does pay to be a little scatterbrained and not clean everything up, this one time. All right. So we got the cap in place. I'm going to grab my hot air station. Get that right over top. You know what? A little late, but I did forget to add flux. So let's put a little bit more flux on there. Okay, not liking that. So let me prep this again. Maybe put a little flux on those. Back to there. Let's get the hot air back on. There we go. There, it fell right into place. Get the camera back to me. Just gonna check my work real quick here. I've got a little magnifying light. Not my best work, so let's see if maybe it's a good idea to just touch it up. Wipe the flux off my hand. All right, let's give that a shot real quick here. Not even sure if that's really doing anything good because the pads are underneath it. So I think what I need to do here is properly prep all the pads ahead of time here. And I might have better luck with that. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Let me get the camera back to where it needs to be. And just hit everything with some flux. Liberal amounts of flux. All right. Sorry about the silence there. I just wanted to concentrate on my work. So make sure all the pads have flux. They do. All right. So one more thing I want to do quick is I want to get the axials in first, just because they will be in the way if I do the others in the other direction. So we got C2. As you can see, negative is pointing towards this lead, and the little indent is on the positive side. So I just need to get something underneath here so I can push through with the lead. So let's get these bent as needed. Nice and even, give or take. All right, so what do I have that's not gonna burn up? All right. A little ridiculous, but I still have this 75 megahertz Intel processor that I have no intention of reusing. So I can put that under there, get a little lift from the bottom, and we'll see if that works as a good little bed here to raise it off of, so I can push through those holes real quick. So back to the camera. All right, so that's not giving me the result I want. So let's try the other way. Let's just put a whole bunch of lead on it. Ooh, that burns. My thumb found the soldering iron. So that did work. So put a ball lead on it and then drop it right down. So now the fun part is doing it again on the other side and not thinking about my burnt thumb. Okay, bunch of lead. That is working against me this time. Yeah, that's not working the same because of the angle I'm at. I do want to get that lead out of there because you don't need that much. Okay, raise it up a bit. I might have a better angle of approach here now. Yeah, this is fun. Now, another thing you can do in a pinch Okay, as I was saying, another thing you can do in a pinch is you can run a vacuum on the other side of the hole as you're heating it, and it just sucks the solder out. Don't really want to do that at 11 o'clock at night when the kids are sleeping, so that would not be good. This is the fun part. Yeah, I did tin all the pads. See, this is where having the proper tool pays off. So if I had the proper tool for this job, this would take 2 seconds. Unfortunately, I don't have the proper tool. So let's come from the back side here. Ooh, that burnt too. Nope, that ain't working either. Now, I do have this thinner tip iron, and that might be the next route. So this is always the part that sucks. When you don't have the right tool, you have to improvise. So what I'm trying here now is opening the hole using an old lead, heating it up and just pushing through from the backside. No luck so far. All right. Let's turn that iron off. All right, let's see here again. So just got to get through that hole. So I want to try my original thought of using hot air, not the iron, hot air this time. My pliers again. And just get that spot nice and toasty. And under the camera. There we go. Got it. Okay, just keep it moving as it cools. All right. So find my snips here again. This time cover it so it doesn't fly across the room. Pulled out the back side here. And now I got a hole where I didn't have one before. And of course there's a little solder on the end of that. That's a little too thick now. Wow. Okay, so the hole's still just a little thin. So I'm gonna do a no-no here and just take my tweezers and carefully ream it out. That's not advisable, honestly. Because that's how you peel up pads. This looks so mangled. So I just need to get you started. All right. You're not getting good close-up angles of this anyways. So let's go ahead and get that hole a little wider, carefully. Super careful. Don't apply any force. Just let the lead get pushed out of the side. Okay, so this might take the heat now that it wasn't taken before, because the hole is started. So now all I got to do is just push it down. Let's see if I can get that back in the right angle again. Apply some direct downward force with the heat. Oop, too much. Wow, this looks wonderful. This is wonderful. This is the stuff I would edit out of a normal video. Go, you live in that hole, go. I can't remember the Happy Gilmore quote. All right. I think what I need to do is get back on the underside of it here. It's already lined up in the hole, so I just have to apply the proper force in the right direction with the heat on from the backside. Let's turn that iron off. All right, back at it. Oh my god, I just realized I'm muted all that time. I am sorry about that. I suck. It's late. All right, as I was saying before during the whole mute, I got it through. Not my proudest work. I am not very happy about that. If I paid for that, I'd be quite annoyed. Once again, if I was charging people to do this, I definitely would have the right tools. You really do need a proper solder sucker, not one of those cheap ones. They're okay in a pinch, but they're not good for much else. So let me get this in here proper. Let's see if I learned anything prior. Okay, made that one in. That one was a lot easier. Spin this around. Throw the other camera on maybe. Let's see if you can actually see what I'm doing here. So the hole is filled, we know that. Get it lined up. All right, there we go. Okay, let's go ahead and clean off that excess solder from this side where it doesn't belong. All right. So move that back over there. I should be able to heat from this side now and work its way up. All right. Same as before. While I was muted, let's try not to ruin the board here. I just need to pull a little bit more on this side. And a little bit more on this side, and that is good. All right, that one I'm actually a lot more proud of. So I'd say that was a learning curve. I learned from the mistakes of the other one. Throw a little bit of flux on here. And hit it quick. All right. Check my work real quick. Alrighty. And now we can go ahead and get all the tantalums on properly. So those I already did pre-tin. I am going to use the hot air station. So let me go ahead and reflux all of those. Actually, I'm not too happy about how much flux is on that one right there. Or not flux, solder. There we go. Double check all my work. Make sure I am happy with the amount of solder that each pad has. All right. So let's get this little one on there. C6. Now, if my wife is watching, when I'm done with this, I'm going to bed. I'm not doing the other boards. So we have a trip to DC planned tomorrow. So I don't need to be up all night doing this. As much as I love doing this, I don't need to be up all night doing it. Now, normally when I record these videos, this is the time that I'm doing it because the kids are asleep. It just makes it easier. And sometimes I'm up until like 3 or 4 in the morning editing and just getting everything done. And then I get about 3 to 4 hours of sleep, and that's it. Kids wake me up at 6, 7 in the morning. 7 if I'm lucky. So, what time is it right now? It's 11:37. So if I can get to bed by midnight, and that's a win. Because that'll mean 5 to 6 hours of sleep tonight. That's usually more than I get anyways. Alright, so soldering iron off. Let's get the hot air. Sorry about that cough. Alright, so all the rest of these are the 47 microfarad 16 volt. So let's just drop them all. Yep. Let's get the positive on the proper side here. Okay, I got 4 people watching still. Thank you. Thank you for that. Not the most entertaining unless you like seeing, uh, mistakes being made. Okay. Whoops, that is still hot. All right. So those are on. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So slightly off camera here, I'm just tapping a little bit of flux on the opposite side of the pad here. All right. Almost done with this. There we go. Okay. Let's just load that with flux. Verify all positive is on the right. Try to get all those nice and even best I can. Okay, 3 more to go. Now, if I do this again, I think I would use flux paste instead, as that would help hold it in place just a little bit better. The flux pen is good for quick little fixes, light solder jobs, but I think flux paste in this case would have served me a little bit better. There we go. Last one. All right. 5 people watching now. Thank you for that. All right, so I'm going to go through, double check my work, make sure there's no errant blobs of solder anywhere that they don't need to be. Make sure all these caps are adhering to their pads like they should be. Don't have to tug on it hard. You'll know if it's not on there, it will move. And yeah, that seems to have done it. Hopefully I didn't break the board with all the trouble I had with the axials. If you're the one person just tuning in, I didn't have a solder sucker and the holes were filled and it was just a pain in the rear end to get that done. Looks like everything is the way it should be. So let's go ahead and put the ROM back in. Give a quick inspection. Otherwise, everything seems okay. So, like I said earlier in the video, there is definitely some green corrosion growing on some of the legs of the chips here. I'm going to hit this whole board with some isopropyl alcohol, clean it really good, get all the flux off that I put on it recently here, and then give it a good bath of deoxit and a light, like a stiff bristle brush cleaning to get any of the corrosion off of there. Let me just double check all my contacts here. All right. Double check polarity. I didn't get anything backwards. That's all good. That positive is where it belongs. The negative is going in the right direction there. Okay. So, I am going to put it together real quick. Now, I plan on doing more of these boards because I thought, oh, just a recap. It's like, 9 caps each. It can't take that long. So, I didn't do the SE30 analog board. It works. There's no need for me to recap it right now, this moment. So, I'm going to put it back together. The problem I was having with this board was that the sound went away, and that's a Logic board recap issue. This board here seems to be working fine. So let me try to put this back together real quick and just see if it works. See if I broke it more. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Should only take a minute. All right. So I can put the Logic board back in first, or yeah, let's do the analog board. So let's set you over here. Take my notes off. All right, you went this way. Now, I did this real quick and dirty, taking it apart. Let's see here. Where are you attached? I'm just going to go ahead and reattach the power supply quick, because that can go in with the whole unit. And those are the machine screws. Now, another thing you want to do is, we're working with CRTs here. Be safe. I already discharged it. It's been off for about a week anyways, so it's probably fine. But you don't want to take any chances. It's a lot of high voltage. It only takes a second to discharge. All right. Let's plug this back in. We got hard drive. I'm just gonna stand up here. All right, you go over here. You want to make sure the knob drops into its little spot. The brightness control knob. Plug that in there. Only other one I'm missing right now is the hard drive. That is up here. And this should only take a couple of minutes to put back together. These things are pretty simple. There you go. That's the spicy bits, if it still had voltage. Alright, so that should go in like that. There's a couple grooves everything has to fit into. And a few more screws, and it's back together. That's off by just a hair. There we go. Look at that ratcheting screwdriver with the strong magnet tip. It's worth every penny. I don't care what you guys say. All right. Let's get that back on. And I'm missing my shield. That's over here. Not shield, it's just a ground connector. So that chassis ground has a good clean connection to the same board here. There we go. Okay, one thing I definitely have to do is clean this desk up when I'm done, because it is a lot of clutter when you're doing caps, because everything is individually wrapped, sometimes double wrapped, and the clutter adds up. So, all right. Analog board is in. Here's the part I possibly messed up. So let's see if it works. Plug in the sound. That's the important bit. Put that on. Slap this on. Tilt it up and make sure all your internal connectors are in. I've got a video card here that I need to figure out if it's EGA, VGA, CJ, whatever GA it is. I want to figure it out and get the pinout figured out and somehow get it working, because it'd be such a waste to have a graphics card in here if I can't get it working. I might need an older monitor. I don't think I can use an LCD, but if I can get a monitor that supports the proper refresh rate and whatnot, that'd be great to have that working. Okay, almost done. We got the main connector here. Just have to latch that in. Our floppy disk. the hard drive. SCSI cable. Let's get that moved around. Yep, I gotta twist it. There we go. Alright, that is all the cables. It is very easy to F this up. And I almost did. I almost forgot a connector here. From the power supply to the analog board. And boy, is it in a tough spot to reach. But we are all monkeys using tools. If you know how to use tools, you're one step ahead of them. There we go. Got it. All right. Everything is plugged in. Double check my work. Gonna go ahead and throw this on. And the screwdriver's on the other side here. Or is it? No, it's down here. Okay, screwdriver. And I need a keyboard. Keyboard and mouse. Sorry about the harsh angle here. But I do have an ADB keyboard right there. All right. I may seem like I'm in a hurry. It's because I want to go to bed. So if this doesn't work, it doesn't work. That was the end of the video. If it works, yay, it works. That's going to be the end of the video. So we shall see what happens in a few moments. All right, I hope I didn't break it, because the only thing I'm really concerned about is the trouble I had getting those axials into the logic board. If anything broke it, it was that. All right, keyboard, mouse, power. All right, it is a mess. But that is the life of a technician. All right. All right, that ain't good. All right, what did I do here? I didn't forget anything, did I? Yeah, there's problems. All right. So, I'm going to have to figure out that. It could be a cap problem, could be... Let's see, lines is usually... Could be a ROM problem. So I guess I'm gonna have to find out what that is on a separate video. It is midnight 06, so it is time to go to bed. Thank you guys for sticking through this. You know, not quite a failure in all cases. So I just have to figure out what I did wrong. So everything is repairable. Nothing is broken forever unless it's really broken. But everything I did tonight, I think I can fix. Might have overcooked one of the caps with a heat gun. Everything was on right, so I'm not worried about that. It could be the ROM. That's possible, because I do know I tried the Raminator in here before, and it just didn't fit because the PCB that the Raminator is made out of is a slightly thinner than the original board that they use for the original ROM. So there is that. I just want to pop this out real quick and reseat that ROM just one more time. Make sure I put it in all the way, because if it's not got a good clean seat, that could do it. And kind of like last night's live stream I did with the Sega Genesis, couldn't get Aladdin to work. Just wouldn't work. The second I ended the live stream, I tried one more time and it worked. So I don't want to repeat that. Let's just see. Now, this was just on. There's definitely issues. So, okay, this Canon is... battery's dying on that. I'm not going to use it again, so... Alright, video card has to come out. And the floppy drive has to come out. Everything else, no, hard drive. Everything else should be easy. Alright. ROM is in clean. RAM is all good. I didn't miss any caps. Let me double check all contacts here. Everything is good. Nothing blew up, so that's a plus. You just reseat that ROM. Make sure it is in the proper way, because it should only go in one way. Yep, that is seated. All right, real quick. Let's see what happens. All right, let's put this back up. Make sure there's nothing conductive under here, because I'm not putting the case back on. Let's put you on at least. Alrighty. Yeah, I don't need that on. Alright. Let's carefully take the video card out. and apply power real quick and just see what happens. If this don't work, it don't work. Alright. Didn't hear a chime. And we got lines again. So, yeah, got problems. Gonna have to figure it out. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you liked what I did here tonight. It was a long video, a lot longer than I thought I'd be going. Like, subscribe. It gets better from here, I swear. So, yeah, tonight was not good. It happens. Live stream. I can't edit it. Not gonna. So thank you very much for subscribing. The ones that do, thank you for watching. I'm going to go get some sleep and wake up early to go for a 3-hour drive. Take care. Bye. And yeah, now I got to end it and find my mouse pad. So, all right, now I'm going to say goodbye. Take care. Bye. And yes, I do confirm I'm